Welcome to another BWS podcast. I'm with Will, and today we're a guy short, so...
No Sean, so it's just BW show today.
And a lot has happened over the past 2 weeks. We haven't recorded in 2 weeks, and, there's the big Ray Rice situation, and, baseball. We had some new Hall of Fame guys get inducted yesterday.
Yeah,
and
pretty interesting.
now I'm just ready for this Ray Rice debate.
All right, let's get into it. I guess first on the table, before we get into, any backlash that came afterward based upon sportscaster comments and things of that nature. First question, do you agree or disagree with the 2-game suspension that was brought down by Goodell?
No, I think it should have been between 4 and 8. 4 and 8, because it's a serious crime. Although there's been players arrested for domestic violence, this was caught on tape. Not exactly what happened in the elevator, but him dragging her out of the elevator, and how the way his posture and mannerism was after the incident.
Didn't look like a helpful manner. Yeah, right.
It's like she's dragging a fish out of water, and you have to come down, make an example, and come down hard on him. I know this is his first time being disciplined by the league office, but Goodell should have done a better job as far as disciplining Rice and giving him additional 2 to 3 games, no more than 8. You have to think the NFL is a large fan base where there's almost an equal rate as men and women. There's a 45% fan base among women.
I said maybe definitely has the biggest female ratio in the 4 major American sports, for sure.
And the majority of the female fans aren't in agreement with Goodell's punishment towards Rice, and for me, I think that he should, yes, of course, he should be suspended longer, and I think that Harbaugh will have to do something, make an example out of him by, once he gets reinstated from his suspension, suspend him a game or 2. I'm definitely not in favor of the ruling, and also this backlash has, been having critics all over America.
Right.
Turning backs against each other.
Right.
And, as far as the discipline, and we saw what happened with Stephen A. Smith on the first take segment on Friday. And,
we'll definitely get into that. We'll definitely.
There's millions of views about it, but as far as America's whole opinion towards Goodell's punishment, I would say there's an 80% disagreement in terms of Rice's suspension now. What is your take on it?
I would say I agree that, a lot of fans, a lot of people, NFL fans and non-NFL fans, have become aware of this situation, also become aware of the, the 2-game suspension. And they've, took into all forms of media to voice their concerns and their disagreement with it. And I think it's all rightfully so. I think in modern day, in today's time, not as if domestic violence was ever taken lightly or should have been taken lightly, but if there's incidents in the past, founding days of the country and things of that nature, where domestic violence against women wasn't such a big deal. We've all been made aware of that time, sadly so. But that's not this time anymore. And with the awareness and also the consequences of domestic violence growing more rapidly and leading to deaths, even here in Toledo, over the past year, we've had young women, middle-aged women, old women all succumb and be victims, of domestic violence. Some to minor to major, injuries, some even to death. And that's a sad thing. So I feel like a situation of this magnitude, although I may understand why, his image or the fact that we didn't actually see what happened in the elevator may have played a factor in such a light suspension. But for a crime of this magnitude where you have videotape, if we don't know what happened, we know no matter what happened, he did something that rendered her unconscious. That was caught coming out of the elevator. Nothing that he did looked as if he was remorseful, as if he was sorry, as if he was, I can't say apologetic, but for lack of better words, apologetic over her current condition. You seen him dragging her across the floor, like you said, like a fish out of water, but it wasn't as if I'm trying to resuscitate you and, get you back up. Even when the employee walked past and caught, noticed whatever was happening, his demeanor was more of a secretive, I got this over here, don't worry about it, more so than we need some help, we need some assistance. So I feel like all of those things, on top of the fact that I didn't hear like a major public statement from Ray Rice or her per se, but I'm not looking for her to speak. I'm looking for Ray Rice to speak. He's the figure here. He's the national figure. He's the famous guy. He's the athlete. He's the suspect. So that's what I want to hear speak. And I never heard any kind of effort or motion to do that. At least not on the big public stage. Maybe I did it in local media papers and things of that nature, but for something of this nature, his gratitude should have been way more. And since it wasn't on top of what actually happened and what we know happened, for 4 to 8, that would have been satisfiable. But I mean, he knocked a woman unconscious. Like, that has to be 6 to me would have been, if I was Goodell, that would have been 6 minimum for me. Because I mean, if you failed a drug test twice, you're getting suspended longer than that. So that makes the argument, that getting high is, although wrong or per se, depending on who you're asking. In the NFL, obviously it is, and it's illegal. So, but you're making that argument that should be handled in a more serious matter than physically putting your hands on anybody, let alone a woman, let alone your wife or soon-to-be wife. So I imagine fiance at the time. I didn't really. It's almost as if, and then leading up to the comments and the flack that's came from me. Let's take Stephen A. Smith from Friday on First Take, and all the national backlash that he's been catching.
It's just misconstrued.
Very misconstrued, and to me, it takes away from the real issue at hand. The real issue at hand was
a man put his hands on
a man knocked out his woman. That was that. No matter what Stephen A. Smith said, let's not forget here that Ray Rice. So even if you vilify Stephen A. Smith for per se agreeing or saying what Ray Rice did was acceptable or somehow women could bring that on them, you have to vilify Ray Rice. You can't vilify the person who agreed with the action more than you vilify the person who committed the crime. Like, so that's exactly how I feel what was going on.
I want to go back to Goodell because I want to, retract. When Javon Belcher was involved, that murder-suicide December 2012 about, the domestic violence then and there were notions that he was going to make a tougher penalty to those players who commit violent acts. Not saying
it was.
I mean, not no fatal thing, but just the fact that you just put your hands on a woman or you're involved in that.
And perpetuating violence of any kind, right.
That he disappointed a lot of fans just by the leniency, but I can see why. Like I said, he was never punished by the league, and I think that his efforts of trying to, bring his wife into the meetings with Goodell and hurry up and marrying her.
Right.
It's just okay, look, we worked through this. Blah, it's just swept under the rug.
Right. Shows that we puts on the facade that we worked it out. So you can't punish us for it because we hit a hump and we worked it out. You know what I'm saying? So what more can you say?
I don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but I just think that it was an effort to save his image in some way. I mean, I think now that we'll look more past this one incident more than what he's accomplished on the football field. I mean, he's coming off the worst year statistically in his career.
Right.
And then now this comes up, and now you're going to be a distraction for the Ravens from the 2014 season. And it's going to be a distraction. I don't think it's going to impact the team now that he's gone. I mean, I think Bernard Pierce will, carry the load while the short time he's gone. But you have to take away some additional playing time for Harbaugh. The way Harbaugh, mention it to the media is okay. Like your son just got in trouble.
Right, like it happened. Like it happens. It's routine part of life. We deal with these things around here.
Blah, blah. I mean, it wasn't we're going to have to, talk to Ray about this and that. We're going to do this and that. Okay, I know certain coaches don't want to be in that discipline factor and just wait for the lead to handle it. But as a coach, you're going to have to set an example, too. From what he did was lenient. He got off lenient by the NFL. And to Harbaugh, you have the power to suspend him additional 2 games. All right, let him keep his money. I mean, I don't like taking nobody's money. I mean, you have kids.
Right.
I mean, don't interfere with the money. But you have to teach him a lesson. Then take away something that a person loves to do, and it'll make you think. I don't know if he's going to be a changed man by this. I mean, I don't know.
Right. We don't know his personality.
We don't know
maybe
his
it wasn't that
personality.
big of a deal to him. We don't know.
But, you know, you have to think about it. I mean, the Belcher thing was a wake-up call, and then you had incidents in the past where Fred Lane, with the Panthers, was in a physical altercation with his wife. She ended up killing him. And then you have guys in the NFL who were arrested for domestic violence and didn't, get no league-imposed suspension. Remember Dan Wilkinson, when he punched his pregnant girlfriend in the stomach. Or Larry Johnson has a history of battering women, and he never had no large discipline besides a fine.
And, of course, we can't forget one of the most tragic situations, especially involving NFL players. Another Carolina guy. You got the Greg Hardy, then you had the Fred Lane guy you just named, but you can't remember the Ray Caruth. Yeah, that was, you can't, you know what I'm saying? So all of that, and it's not to say Ray Rice has the same personality as Ray Caruth and all of those things, but I just feel like domestic violence all leads to something else. It's like watching, having a child and, exposing them to cigarettes and then watching them go to marijuana, then watching them go to crack. Like, you see what I'm saying? You didn't know what's coming, but you can't be oblivious to the fact that everything he's doing could lead up to, or has the potential to, especially if it goes undisciplined accordingly, or, just unhandled. And, that's, but speaking to Ray Rice personally, how do you feel? Like, do you feel as if, we can only speculate how, it's hitting a toll on him, but let's just say, this is his first blemish that, his first blemish that he's had that I've ever heard of ever since, even going back to Rutgers when he came on the scene. Never known for anything but positive, hard work, good attitude, things of that nature. How do you think, what's your speculation on how do you think he will personally handle it? Do you think he will, feel as if he's a distraction and that will lead to like some bad play on the field? Do you think it would carry over? Or do you think to him it's like water under the bridge, how we appear to think it was handled, and he'll just go about football business as normal?
From what I saw, I think he'll just move on. I mean, it's really no big deal because it happens a lot with NFL players that it doesn't really affect. It's just the fact that Goodell was just putting all this emphasis into being more of a hard discipline. It's like, we're going to suspend Rice. Well, he didn't mention it, but the way he noted it, okay, he's facing a multi-game suspension. Right. It's like, okay. Right. And then once I saw 2 games, I was like, well, damn. Right. You're making it seem like he's going to be gone for half a season.
Right.
So, he just failed on that part. You just have to know, like, I know he has wife and he has kids, and what if his, kids were, his daughters were, had their...
That's what I'm saying.
We're battered. You would want the most severe.
What if Ray Rice battered your daughter? Would it have been a 2-game suspension then or something of that nature? But
you have to look at all the factors. Right. You have a wife. You have kids. If your kids was put in that situation, you would want, as any parent would want, you want the most severe punishment that can be handed to him. So,
and I think now also, another part of my disappointment. It's not only that I feel like Ray Rice gets off, for a crime, but I also feel as if the second part of Goodell's responsibility was to ensure that future matters like this would be handled. Was to give his fans, especially his female fans, some kind of comfort as much as he could, and letting them know that issues like this aren't taken lightly, by the NFL and their community. Definitely, between there's nothing they condone amongst players and things of that nature. You have to provide some kind of mental comfort in that environment for moving forward.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? To ease people. And I feel that's where his biggest drop of the ball was, because it'd be very interesting to see how he handles the Greg Hardy situation.
That's what I was going to say.
Williams, or Lord forbid, another, I'm not saying a Ray Caruth or Javon Belcher, or Fred Lane, but let's just say any other domestic issue that comes up within, under the shield, it will be interesting now to see how it's handled.
I think the next, he has to deal with the Greg Hardy. Once that, and he already pled guilty. Right. So we're awaiting word on that. And I would say how he disciplines Hardy will have a lot to do with Goodell's image. I know he's already unliked by many people
for over discipline and now for under discipline. He's
in a really of a lose situation. Right. But for the 45% female fans, you're gonna have to come down harder, and we'll see with the next when it comes to Greg Hardy.
We'll definitely say.
All right. So what's the next you want to get into?
That would probably we have to this. Do you want to discuss the
Stephen A?
Yeah,
Stephen A. It's just logical, to be honest with you. It's just everything is just misconstrued.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was my take.
We already know putting your hands on women is wrong.
Right. And I've watched First Take for years. And nothing that I've ever heard Stephen A. Smith say would have ever given me the slightest idea that he was saying somehow the way it was construed. He said, I've seen him millions of times going on rants about how he, but I just want to say I don't understand how it was misconstrued, so I don't know what I'm about to say to be misconstrued, but I've always talked to girls in my family the same way, and I said when I have a daughter, I'm going to tell my daughter, you don't let no man hit you, but I'm also going to tell my daughter, you don't hit no man. You see what I'm saying? So it's not saying the victim deserves it, or not even saying she provoked it, or that any women provoke it, but I'm from urban America, quote unquote ghetto America.
That's pretty much keep your hands to yourself.
I've seen women provoke dudes to go beyond their logic. Now I'm not saying it was right, but at the end of the day, we're human beings. We're not programmed to always know or follow right from wrong. And if you're in a heated situation, and I've been hit in my face by a woman punched with objects and not objects, it took a lot to remember, hey, that's a female, you got a mama. Like, it's just natural reaction. So I don't feel that any dude should go there, but I also don't feel like, kind of what Stephen A. Smith said. There's nothing you could do to make a dude hit you. That's still his choice, but you do have a responsibility to defuse situations and to not instigate situations. And in a society where we preach to women from the time they were born, never let a dude hit you, but we never tell them what not to do, then that creates the mentality that girls can do whatever they want. And pretty much 9 out of 10 arguments I see between guy and female, especially domestic, relationship involved, that's exactly the mentality the female has. They will be in your face. They will call you out your name. They will mug you. They'll put their hands on you. And then they will dare you to do something back to them under the mentality that you can't hit me because I'm a girl.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So but then again, the people who I see misconstruing Stephen A. Smith's comments weren't from urban America, or probably have no understanding of, they probably really never seen a situation where females acted the way Stephen A. Smith was speaking of possibly acting, or the way I'm saying I've seen them act. So I understand their side, but that doesn't give them the right to misconstrue something that the man clearly did not say. So
that's
just my take.
They talk about A, B, and C, but leave out D, E, F.
Right. That's just all falls into that. But
it's how you take it, though. I mean, you already know right from wrong. You ain't supposed to do this. Keep your hands to yourself. Blah.
That goes for everybody.
We already know.